Send a messenger. I want to talk about the final battle. 7 with you. 1 Fen. But you've been closing the door these days. So. I didn't even wait for her to finish. Most likely, a straight line passed through her face. Cold talk, I know. It's a reward for watching him leave. That lonely back shadow made her a little hurt. Look at the leader next to you. She's hard to understand the leader's voice. Do you feel like he's changed again? Number. State leader shook his head in horror said. It's not that the butler has changed. It goes back 8 years. Come back. It's like when we met him in the jungle. People often hear this and are amazed. Probably the most 8 years ago. Is unintentionally cruel. I didn't notice anything in my eyes. She was scared of 8 years ago. But more than heartbreak for his solitude. Leave it all behind. Probably one way to the conference room. Just walking and not stopping. Think about your own cultivation path. The devil is in the heart of only himself. Not paying attention to any. AI is also not disturbed by external objects. As in years past. Meet with the lost. Experiencing feelings like never before. Make the thought of why. Not as calm as before. That's why you can't break through without a second miracle. You have to get rid of all your thoughts and emotions. The strong ones don't need those boring things. The one thing that he wants to get rid of is his self-interest. With 2 people in heaven. Or friendship with the lost. Or an unforgettable attachment to a beautiful body. People in the poor neighborhood. That year in his heart he basically decided clearly. But at some point you will realize. Love is what you should have for yourself. The life of a tasteless person. There should be ups and downs. We value our lives. The emotional things that you think. It will be related to his path. Sometimes it will help you get what you can't expect. This is also a matter of later. He himself must be the Gnostic himself. I can understand the value of love. Between people and people. A deep way of thinking never. He also went to a court. This place has long 9 with 3 people of HOA long dance. Waiting outside. I just saw why. Long 9 is now happily approaching. You made fun of people by thinking that day. It really opened my eyes to you at 9CA. But most likely, he did not respond to his enthusiasm. Coldly gliding by. I haven't seen 9 in a long time. Long 9 startled people. I'm a little confused about this attitude. The Fernits did not look at his face. Have fun laughing. My husband died that day. If you call me around, I'll pull your tongue out. Most likely, he looked at her coldly. He shuddered in fear and shut his mouth. I have a little bit of common sense on my face. The owner saw that the disciple was scared. Angry voice out. What do you say? And you don't manage her anger. The most obvious is the tone of the voice. If you don't manage your students well, what will the disciples do later? Punished by people. Don't blame others for being cruel. You can only blame yourself for teaching. I said one way out. I don't care about them anymore. Long Nine looked at this scene with suspicion. This kid is finally doing what he did today. It's like the whole world is his enemy. This feeling is a little hard to say. Just went inside. This place is full of the owners of the three families. The alliance is sitting at the round table. When he came in, he smiled and said hello. On the contrary, he just nodded. But he bowed his head too. Try not to look at the city. Sitting in the empty chair. One etch, he decided to go back to his former self. Then even to the city. He must also give up. But you don't realize. For others, he can take the form of a cold shout. In front of her. You can only try to avoid it. I dare not face her. It's like a great shout. You can't use it on her. On the contrary, it's the city. She doesn't know how to think in her heart either. But even a glance is not for her. He bit his teeth and was not angry. The old man saw that he was safe. I'm not waiting to seriously raise my hand. Now the clan battle qualifier is over. Because of your fight that day. Many families have lost their status. So the final battle is scheduled for next month. It was pushed up the next day. Then you are looking for me. The worst worship in the world. Not waiting for him to finish. Thanks for the quick explanation. Because the lost family has never been in the Seven Kingdoms. So there are some things that you may not understand. In fact, every battle is decided. They will all be held in different locations. The rules are not the same. But the only thing that hasn't changed. That would be devastating. What he said was not so clear. Of course you know the cruelties. In the Ming Dynasty battle this time. Everyone has their own purpose. Emperor 7 and he both had a purpose behind. Intense competition is inevitable. A cold nod. Probably most casually say oh. 7 decisions of war were not held in Vanlong City. Sao. Not 1,000 years ago. Every time the 100 Days of Ming is held here. This is the high point of Emperor 7. I am glad that Fong is a little serious about this. A lecture with why. It's just constantly changing the terrain can only be seen. The true power of 7 far shows raw. And again the true power of the 7 family disciples. It's different every time. The difficulty of the challenging terrain will be greater. Maybe this time it will be a dangerous terrain. This word just came out. It makes the most sure people are stunned. It's like knowing your thoughts. The army laughed softly. Maybe the butler doesn't have to be weird. In case someone cheats. In Vanlong City, there's a massive level 8 teleportation battle. That's the real fight. Then Ra is the king's 7 thoughts thoughtful. Most likely, calm down and speak. Hearing these words, let him think a little. To arrange such a large displacement. For the 100 Min paintings, is it a bit of a waste? He is a little confused. 7 times played so big. It's not going to be bad. The dragon looked at the surest side. Smiling for an hour. The day's housekeeper. Yesterday it seemed as if we had opened our eyes. About your ability. But we still want to ask one question. Are you sure? To deal with Hong Fu Than Thien. I don't know if they expect it. But most likely the world still spits out a word. Make them 7. The final 307 decisions of the Ming Dynasty. Know everyone's thoughts. Most likely, he smiled with a soft smile and a loud voice. But people are assured. Holding his feet is no problem for me. The remaining 3 of them were disabled. Then we are. Long Dat Phi stuffed her mouth with a big laugh and said ha ha ha. Just the butler. It can keep the sky high. The other 2.5. If we can't even deal with it, then the title of 7 Ra is lost. They all looked at each other laughing. Let's talk a little bit. Plan for the final battle. Then disband. Just waiting for everyone to leave. Most probably just want to go back. There's a body in front of you. He doesn't raise his head either. Clearly know what the cold AI is talking about. The boy's eyes trembled slightly, looking at the cold. His voice came down in anger. I'm sure we still ask that question. The days in the dance. Have you ever been attached to them? I hear you still ask that question. Still bite not let go. He passed by, she said casually. I told you earlier that I was only there for good. If you achieve your goal, what else is there? Then that day. When you live in a small house, why? He looks like he wants to leave. Scream again to stop. I can't remember that time. In my heart I really regret it. But he hid the vibration in his heart. He bit his lips and turned closer to himself. She laughed and said the play. Do you think it's real? If not those days. I am reluctant to sacrifice myself for the sake of. Then how can you obey the Jade Bodhi? Translated. The word is not over yet. The police have lifted their hands. There were 5 red marks on his face. Get what you want. Most likely, he would put a small smile in his mouth. The words hurt the person in front of you even more. Stupid woman. It's easy to say that. I was worried after Lao Tzu was 100 years old. How long dance will grow in your hands? Give me a long dance. To hands clenched into power. Her nails pierced into her flesh, causing her pain. But it doesn't hurt as much as words. She bit her lips. The eyes could not help but cry and bite their teeth. You son of a bitch are meaningless. Like God, it hurts her. The feeling is not in her place. Began to fall in heavy rains. Standing in the rain. Body trembling, extremely pitiful. Most people walk in the rain. Still did not turn her head towards her, contemptuously laughing. Ha ha, Lao Tzu, those who practice magic are already desperate. Don't tell me there was nothing wrong with you. No matter what was real at the time. What can you do, Lao Tzu? This word of his radically makes the tendency to collapse. It's like a big hole in the heart. Painfully spitting out a sip of blood. HOA long stick holder with the same form. I don't know when he showed up at this place. I saw her collapse. Immediately ran to help her to the inclination. Probably the most stagnant stop. Not to turn back anyway. If you decide, do it to the end. Not be soft. I think he still proudly walked away. It's like the city. She has nothing to do with you. Long-form long-time owner has itchy eyes with why. Now he's hurting the city. Do not shout out loud. Probably your son of a bitch. Fuck you, you're not a man. They are blind to look at you. Maybe the animal is meaningless. Probably you. Leave the insults behind. Probably most people still don't care. Still one step away. He left the hospital soon. He couldn't help but spit out a sip of blood. His condition together with his tendency to. It's no different. A person who's hurt. A person who says something hurtful by forcing himself. Not comfortable in the mind. Through today. The two of them are officially allied. Their past is thrown into a corner. It's not to be mentioned. No matter the state of the most ordinary. A little better. Because he takes the initiative even more he knows. Know whether what you are doing is good or bad. Blood on my face. Most likely, bite your teeth. He told himself he was the king. To go to the top of the magic, to be absolutely desperate. These heavy emotional things. Get out of here. Vanlong City in a Khao Sun building in the west. The mountain's peak is in the center. Established the battle tradition called Nebula Battle. At this time the families gathered not a few people. Prepare for the final battle. Look how far away you are. At this moment, I don't know who's shouting. Everyone looks together. I feel the most confident with my brother. They often bring the lost. It's coming this way. The injury to the sea has also been completely cured. Now it's up again. See this situation. Everyone's eyes stopped looking a little bit forward. Finally, the most anticipated black horse this time. What a miracle would be. While everyone is quietly watching. Dare not move. The fairy tale stopped incense from somewhere moved to. Trac.ca. Most likely the face has a little tone. Suddenly with a grin. Look at the person walking next to you with a soft voice. Why are you here? It's not that I don't like to watch fight scenes. To kill. Is that feces often glance at him and bite his lips. In my heart that rises up. In these days. This is the first time she saw him with such a genuine smile. But that smile wasn't he with her. She reluctantly sighed. There is a little unwillingness in my heart. Stop laughing and laughing. There was a little excitement on my face. No wonder, father. This time we are going to war. I have to join you too. There was a little worry in my eyes. The worst man in a hurry shouted. It can't be stopped. This time the fight was very dangerous. It's not a kid's joke. Water like this. Absolutely not involved. No wonder. Because I know every time I'm in danger, the spirit world will shine. Then you will come to save me. It happens every time, not at all. Two-sided blinking of naive words. Unconscious body trembling. Most likely, his eyes burst into laughter as a nod. I can talk. I'll keep an eye on you. You don't need to worry. You don't have to deal with the government. The sky. The fishermen just let me watch. Thanks to the sky, it is also time to move forward. I like to stop leaving. Just whisper it to her, and let's go. Don't bother him anymore. People of God also come to this place. The most obvious way to look at it is to know. This head is too excited. Just ask to join. But don't worry. I have to brothers and thank you. Watch out. It won't be a problem for Mr. Track. Probably the most thoughtful looking at the sky. Stop the child leaving. Raise your hand to say something. But in the end, the hands are back. Don't he look at them anymore? It's like he wants to draw a line between himself and to people. Just like that year at the mountain range. They just use each other to achieve their goals. Thinking for a long time, most of the time, I can't stop saying a word. Take good care of me. Don't let that happen. That still has to be said. Thank heaven Young understand the idea of nodding confidently said. Maybe we all have to participate. Suddenly lost often looking towards the most solid. Softly speak up. Probably the most suspicious eyebrow told at Sao. Not have been. The previous table was this time. Let me and Hai take 10 guards. You're not involved. No matter what, you will protect me. It's normal, two-eyed blinking. Slowly shake your head as firmly as possible. Your body speaks. Not too dangerous. You care about me. Not the best way to touch your nose. The corner of his mouth jerked a cold voice. I'm afraid because I keep an eye on you and I get distracted. That puts us in danger. What he just said was that he was angry and shouted. Stop worrying, you said you would protect her. I am a burden. What do you mean? But she didn't get an answer either. I can only see that lonely little shadow of his back. She suddenly realized. This person is like locking up his heart. It's like a lonely, arrogant hero. I just want to quietly endure it all alone. It hurts people anyway. 308 King's Son. Seven's men are here. Right now. There's another scream of excitement. People turn their heads again. It's true that people from the 7 kingdoms are coming. The leader, of course, is King Mon 6. The rest of the house followed. This time any family. It also gives you the strongest power. It can't happen. After the event the day before, the man of the dance is the most sure. It doesn't give a good face. Including the for enthusiastic deigning. At this moment, I just bow my head and pass by. Probably a moment. Touch the body of the city. Turn your head and try not to notice her. To see her here is a pity. Yesterday was nothing to worry about. You don't have to worry too much either. That the department ends too. After his heartfelt words yesterday. Also thoroughly desperate bite the teeth go through the why. Even one eye doesn't look. 2 of her hands are now firmly in power. A cold one. He said no wrong. That person is really a meaningless. Not worthy of any woman in the world. To sacrifice for why. You should also let it go. She seems to have completely lost. The lone marshal is here. And then there was another shout. She alone carried thousands of horses too. They surrounded the entire area. Look at the worst. She couldn't help but laugh for an hour. Ha ha ha. The boy is good. That day on the stage, the Lord is ready to save you. At any time. Results. You've learned the magic of the divine. So well hidden. Worried about the old man once more. The marshal was also there that day. The most obvious question is the suspicious question. Slowly nod your head. Lonely Girl Battlefield happily says it's a matter of course. Even a few days ago, I have just seen the Holy Spirit using magic. Kill people by thinking. The old man is afraid that you will fall into the trap. So always hiding next to the observation. I can't believe you two are monsters. The old man is worried about white-toothed cows. Hey har, okay, let's go. It's about to start. Laugh for an hour. She's alone, and she's walking next to Van High. Let's say a few sentences. Turn around and leave. The four tigers follow behind. One way to the radio station. 7 So Ra also came in one by one, forming row 5. But let everyone be surprised. It's a lost family that raises its own flag. It's on par with 7 Ra. In the eyes of the people do not shrink. On the face appeared the terror. To howl and howl and howl. The lost house does not belong to any world. It's about standing on the same level as the 7 kingdoms. But like this, it is no different from the power of the 7 families. Do they agree? To all the high offices of the 7 noble families, dare to kill casually. So what's the point of looking at the position of the 7 families? That's what he did. That's right now. There's a sound of laughing gold again. Send it to everyone's hands. You want to get in position so fast. Ha ha ha. Of course you still have to do what he says. In the direction of sound. You only see one of the 4 worlds. Prime Minister of Vietnam is slowly approaching. And then there are 2 unfathomable masters. They didn't expect this person to be here. He should have had an emperor. Well done with his prime minister. What are you doing here for fun? The same right now. There is also an antidote, the appearance of the wind. That's one. In the 3 great minds of impermanent death. Keep your eyes on the people coming. The impermanent recipient could not help but sigh silently. He's only had 2 people in his life who didn't see through. The school district is one of them. But the wind is blowing. I don't pay attention to people's reactions. On the one hand, go straight to the place of the most ordinary. Smiling, have you thought about it? Now you're about to get caught up in a cycle. This action of his, it's a terrifying battle for everyone. Maybe this lost family, there is also a connection with the wind. The head of the 4 pillars. But let them be 7. If you get lost today, you will enter the 100 kingdoms. What were they doing temporarily on the enemy's side? Is there a connection? The kingdom of heaven is also startled. How can they think of Old Man Fire? The school of wind came again because it was most likely. If they're really connected, you don't have to climb up to the top. Think about here. His face immediately sank down to hands clenched into power. It seems to know his thoughts. Impermanent cold-clothed hands, cold voice. Don't be in a hurry. Gia Cat, this wind school is different from the lonely battle sky. He is a man for his own good. Even if he really wants to get along with the homeless. Not sure either, because he saw the talent of the world. Once eradicated with certainty, everything will naturally be solved easily. It also means that this time it's called the 100 Years of War. No matter what, we have to get rid of that boy. His eyes softened. The kingdom of heaven in his eyes flashed close. The impermanent leader nodded. Look again at the hope of a solution. He is the Holy Father. But he's like, listen to what they say. It's just strategy in your burning eyes. There's also hatred. I often see the scene. He was pleased to smile. It seems like he's all in his hands. At the same time, on the most secure side of the world, I looked at him. Laughing for an hour. Do you know why? Not lost yet, Rod jumped into the rushing water. I can't help raising my eyebrows. The sand is so deep. The most obvious thing is to smile. The old man trusts your judgment. You just don't have to be forced down this road. The old man is still looking forward to the day of evil. That's probably what the butler says. Probably the most smiling. The farmer also laughed for an hour. With yin and yang, he went to the radio. Looking at the lonely, she said, Old Marshal, you don't blame the old man for not inviting you. Who are the prime ministers of the empire? Do an activity as big as the Ming dynasty to observe. It's the right thing to do. She shivered with a cold smile and said, Slowly put on your hand. Master Jia Sand glanced at everyone. Laugh big, haha. Don't be so serious, Marshal. The old man is a lonely old man. Bored and bored. It should come to a close. You don't have to pay attention. Poisoned you dead.